Introducing Dancer.
Hello and welcome back to another how to play / overview video for the fighters in the High Rollers expansion. Before we get into it, if you would like to play FKO or the High Rollers expansion for yourself, then it's available on the Steam Workshop. The link will be in the description. Also, there is a very active community around Fatal Knockout, so if you do fancy checking that out, there is a Discord link on the table if you do play the game on Tabletop Simulator, or you can head to the link in the description as well. You'll be welcomed with open arms. So today we are playing Dancer. Dancer is a second fighter included in the Fatal Knockout High Rollers expansion, which will be launching on Kickstarter October 29th. And what we're going to do before we get into an example turn, which I already have set up, we're going to go over the fighter herself, as well as her components, what's unique about her, what's interesting, and so on and so forth. So first of all, let's take a gander here at her beauty render, which you can see on the card backs, you can see on the board. She is sort of very much heavily inspired by like a hip hop breakdancing dancer. She works in the entertainment district, or has worked in the entertainment district, such as all four of these fighters, and is actually related to Bossman. She is Bossman's daughter, and also related to V, who's her sister as well. So this expansion comes with two more fighters, which sort of evolve and add to the family, which includes Bossman, Dancer, and V, which is pretty cool. Looking at her standee, you can see here she is sort of off balance, but on ready to move at any moment. And she also comes with another standee, one of the few fighters in the game which does this. This is a pole which she uses to dance with. You can see it just a bit in her beauty here. You can see there you go, that's better. You can see the pole which she's holding onto while she's breakdancing. So very similar to V, in that V also comes with a second standee, which is part of her kit, and quite inspired by it. V, however, is Zona, whilst Dancer is more of a footsie, close-ranged fighter, which you actually, to be fair, can use as a Zona as well. She's very dexterous, versatile. She can do a bunch of different things. Her deck, including the KO card, comes with 15 cards. Her initiative order is on the quicker side. This has all been... my cat just knocked over a photo of me on my desk. Well, not just of me and my child. I don't just have photos of me lying around. But we'll get a few of these cards out here, I believe. No, we're still looking for... There we go, there's a spin. And we'll have a look at a few of these cards. But yeah, she's on the faster side to match her kit and moveset, which makes sense. But yeah, we'll look at her sort of three actually, new abilities, because there are three new abilities, plus her pull works in a slightly different way because of her standee pole. I'm going to say pull and pole quite a lot here, so hopefully my accent doesn't confuse matters. But yeah, we will start with the pole. So the way the pole works is you can, if the pole is attached to the fighter, there are times when that cannot be the case, I'll get into that in a sec, then these actions here say that you can throw the pole either 1, 2, or 3 spaces away from you. So if you were using stepping, or maybe feel the beat or top rock, then you can throw the pole up to 3 spaces away. Say we throw it 2 spaces. Then, Top Rock is a good example of this, actually. If you also have a pull action you can use, which doesn't have to be on the same card, it could be on any card. For example, this one just has a pull without a throw pull action. Then you can pull enemies towards you. Let me grab Gambler again. Gambler's becoming a fighter, which we use quite a lot in these examples. So you can either pull the Gambler towards you, like how the regular pull works, or you can instead pull yourself towards the pole, landing on the same space as it. What the catch is here is, though, if there is a fighter in between you and the pole, then when you pull yourself towards them, then it does damage from the direction you hit them with. So with Gambler here, we'll take 1 damage from the left. So in theory, if Gambler does have a shield up, then they can block the attack here with a shield. But in most cases, it'll probably be the case of you pull yourself towards the pole and the Gambler takes damage. In the event that the Gambler is on the same space as the pole, then you would choose to land either on the left or right side of the Gambler. Of course, if you land on the left, then you will not do damage as you don't go past them, but if you land on the right, you do damage. The only way to get your pole back, unlike V, who has a retrieve action which brings her weapon back to her, you have to land on the space where the pole is. At that point, the pole is now attached to you again and it moves around with you. So yeah, we have that. The other thing to talk about with the pull is is that there is a new type of pull, kind of like with Bossman, where you have a new type of knockback. You have a new type of pull, which means that you can pull someone behind you. So, say for example, you're here, Gambler is here. If you use this pull action here, then you can pull them behind you. So now they're sandwiched against the wall. This is helpful if you want to sort of disorientate them. Say, for example, they are facing you and you pull them behind you, so now they're facing away from you, especially if they are a very linear fighter in terms of most of their attacks and actions are in front of them, then this can really disorientate them. Additionally as well, you can use this for edge of stage wall damage as well. So you pull them behind you because they can't go behind you, they hit against the wall and they land on this space here, taking a damage. So that's two actions there. Well, it's the pull which does both of the actions really, where on the card it doesn't signify that you can do damage, but depending on the way the board is laid out, the positioning of both fighters, you can still achieve damage, which is really interesting. It means that, you know, overall the amount of attack actions she has in a deck is quite limited. Like there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is relatively low compared to some other fighters which might have 9 or 10. But there are so many other actions that if you set them up correctly, they can do damage. It's kind of like Sly. Once you start upgrading their kit, then it becomes like a fighter which only has 4 attack actions to a fighter which can have, you know, 10, 12, 14, you know, depending on how they set up. So there we are. One more final thing, which is kind of like sort of a nice addition, not necessarily tacked onto the fighter, but it's a lot more situational, but it kind of works in the same way that the pull behind does, in that if you're playing against a fighter which like really likes attacking or moving a particular way, then you can use the spin action. What the spin action does is if you are in melee range, say for example they've got a card next which is gearing up to do like 2 damage right in front of them, and it's melee damage. You want to spin them around, which is just a force rotate, and that means that they miss their next attack. They could also be comboing a bunch of different moves together, which requires them to start a certain direction, so they might even be starting away from you, but if you turn them around, then that messes up their entire combo. It's a nice little addition, something which you're not going to be using probably every single game, more than once or maybe twice. Compared to the other abilities, you're not going to be using it nearly as much, but it works really, really well with the character, and there are situations where it can be very, very powerful. Right, okay, so what we'll do now is we will go into the example setup which I have here versus Cage. So this is mid-game. We've got a planning phase which resulted in 3 cards each being played. And we're just going to go through each card and show how it's done here. So, we start off with Top Rock, which is a very powerful card. It used to be 0 initiative in playtest, but it was 0 initiative, which resulted in damage almost every time. So it was nerfed to a 2 initiative card. Anyway, but in this scenario here, Cage is very much sort of out in the open exposed. Top Rock is a great way to just deal some early damage, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to throw the weapon here. The pole, sorry, and then I'm going to pull myself towards it, netting a damage for Cage. At that point, I also have backspin. At the moment, because of what I did here and sort of like overcommitted, the pull can't be used because it's forward facing and there's no mix up on the card, so I can't rotate early. So what I'm going to do is just use the bottom action here to rotate. Then we have reposition. Cage is forced to rotate, and then to either shield or move 1. Because I can see with closing that if I move backwards, I can do a damage to them. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to gain a shield for, let's say, in front. And then Cage's next card, close in, move backwards, and do a damage to Dancer. At that point, we move on to Engage. So Engage here is a situation where, because of the way Cage works just then, it might actually be a bit ineffective. What we can do, though, is we can... because there's no mix-up on the top action, so I need to throw the pole. So I'm just going to throw it just one space in front of me, because I kind of want it. And then at that point, I can either spin in front of me or attack in front of me, or I can rotate or pull. So I'm just going to rotate, and I'm going to... you know what? Because they've got a shield, I'm going to... instead of hit them, I'm just going to rotate them. It doesn't really matter too much, because Cage's next action is a pull either side and a grab either side. So Cage is going to grab me and throw me over there for another damage. So that example actually resulted in the Dancer being worse off. But as you can see, Cage had a pretty good setup to be able to keep close in and make it so the Dancer really couldn't be as effective. There are plenty of other examples to show a Dancer's skill set, but there is the example there of how just a regular turn would work with Dancer. Dancer is insanely versatile, very interesting. Doesn't really do anything too insane, like it doesn't introduce a combo card like Boss Man, or doesn't do any of the other insane stuff in the other fighters, which we'll get into in other videos. But what she does is she really allows the player to express themselves in really interesting ways, so long as they plan ahead and prepare for what's to come. But yeah, that's going to be it. So thank you guys for watching. Hopefully enjoyed this video. And yeah, stay tuned for the next How to Play. Thank you and goodbye.